Simcha Rothman is the man behind Israel's judicial reform bills, which have caused mass protests over the last 6 weeks across the country. He's not only pulled together the bills, he's also the chair of the Knesset's Constitution, Law and Justice Committee, which is overseeing their passage through Parliament. In between meeting President Herzog and coalition members regarding the plans, he spoke exclusively with our correspondent, Jody Cohen. Take a look.
Simcha Rothman, welcome to WION. Now, I've been reporting from some of the protests and speaking to some of the people there. They seem genuinely scared, some of them, about these proposals. Why do you think that is?
Sadly, some people lost the elections in Israel. They're having a campaign based on lies. The reforms are very simple, very democratic. I never saw a dictator that trying to change the way we elect our judges and having an open discussion, open debate in the Knesset to interview every candidate so the public could be see the reality. I think that's the way democracy works, and I think the lies that are spread by the opposition creates fear.
The coalition says that the reforms will strengthen democracy, and when we hear about democracy, we hear about checks and balances on government power. Under these proposals, what will the checks and balances be?
In Israel today, we have a legislator, we have executive, and we have a court. The legislator is checked and balanced. The Israeli system is full of checks and balances. That's why some would say even too much. We had 5 elections because the government is not so strong, when you try to look at it. Also, the executive has a lot of checks and balances, inner checks and balances and outer ones by the court, by the legislator. The court in Israel is unchecked and unbalanced. The court is the only entity from those 3 powers that elect itself, that self-perpetuate, that you can have unchecked and unbalanced power, and that now we are trying to introduce checks and balances to the court. We are not touching and we are not removing any checks and balances from the legislator or from the executive.
Would you be open to introducing other checks and balances like a written constitution or term limits?
A written constitution is a work in progress in Israel for many years. The only reason it's not happened until now is the courts abusing whatever basic law or whatever laws that we are trying to legislate. So when you want to have a written constitution, you must have a trust in the court. In Israel today, there is no trust in the court because of its politicization and the fringe ideas of some of the judges. Because of the elections, it's many reasons. So to have a written constitution, it's a work in progress. It might take a few years, but you first have to rebuild the trust with the courts. And term limits in Israel, in the parliamentarian system, we have a very fixed term limit. It can only go down. Knesset is elected for 4 years, and usually last less than a year in the past 3 years, and definitely not a long time.
And term limits in terms of the number of times the Prime Minister can stand?
In a parliamentarian system, I don't know of any parliamentarian system with a term limit on the Prime Minister, because it's limiting the power of the Parliament to elect. It's also useless because the Parliament that sets this term limit can change it whenever it wants. And in a system like parliamentarian systems, I don't know of any system that limits the term of a minister or the Prime Minister. That's very strange.